Hi everyone, I'm Michelle and I'm an SLG leader for Sociology 101 at the University of the Fraser Valley. Today I'm going to be talking about how to write a strong thesis statement. This video doesn't only apply to sociology, it can be helpful for courses in any discipline where you have to write a paper, such as psychology, English, history, geography, the list goes on. So first of all, let's quickly go over what a thesis statement actually is. A thesis statement is a sentence that states the main idea or argument of your paper. It's a vital part of any academic paper, no matter what the topic is. You might have heard it called a topic sentence in high school, and it most often goes at the end of your introductory paragraph, so the first paragraph of your essay. All right, so what does a thesis statement do? What's it for? So a thesis statement condenses your main argument. So it kind of just boils your paper's main point down to its most basic form. A thesis statement tells the reader exactly what your paper is about. So when a reader looks at a thesis statement, they should know exactly what the topic of your paper is and exactly what stance you're taking on that topic. And then finally, a thesis statement adds purpose and direction when writing your paper. So everything you write in your paper should be relevant to your thesis statement. If you're getting lost, if you're finding that you're starting to go in a direction that doesn't align with your thesis, you can refer back to your thesis to put you back in the right direction again. All right, so there could be a whole separate video that goes more in depth into developing a thesis statement, especially choosing the topic, but in this video, I'll just go over the basic steps. So step one is to choose a topic. The example I picked here is anti-smoking advertisements. Step two is to ask a question about your topic. So for example, you could ask, what aspects of anti-smoking advertisements are effective in reducing smoking? And then step three is to answer your question based on your current knowledge or ideas you have about the topic, along with some initial research. And then this answer is going to be your initial thesis statement. So, based on general knowledge of the extremely negative effects of smoking, such as, cancer, early death, it makes sense to think that talking about this in advertisements might motivate people to quit smoking. So kind of based on that, we might make our initial thesis statement to be that anti-smoking advertisements are most effective in reducing smoking when they show smokers the negative consequences of smoking. And then finally, step four is to conduct further research and adjust your thesis statement to make it as informed and strong as possible. So, I won't go into the details of the research here, but, after doing some research, we might find that our final thesis statement might be that anti-smoking advertisements are most effective in reducing smoking when they combine the arousal of strong negative emotions, such as fear and sadness, with messages and resources that suggest quitting is possible and effective. So, now we're going to go into how to make our thesis statement one that is as strong as possible. So I've got 4 ways here. We'll go into each of them more in depth, but I'll list them to start. So we've got be specific, take a stand, justify debate, and express one main idea. All right, so the first characteristic of a strong thesis statement is that it is specific. So being too vague is one of the most common mistakes when writing a thesis statement. It also has the negative effect of making your topic way too broad to cover. So we're going to look at these 2 thesis statements. So looking at the first one, academic tracking is wrong. We can see it's not nearly specific enough. What's wrong with it? What are we talking about here? It also makes the topic, really broad. Are we going to be talking about every single thing that's wrong with academic tracking in this paper and why? So looking at the second thesis statement, we can see that it's a lot more specific, narrow, and clear. So we've got academic tracking should be banned in Canadian schools because it perpetuates social inequality by consistently putting children of lower socioeconomic status into lower tracks, giving them a poorer quality of education and limiting their future career opportunities. So this thesis statement is much stronger because it identifies specifically what you're saying is wrong with academic tracking, specifically why this is wrong, and what specifically should be done about it. It also narrows the topic of the paper to something more manageable. So yeah, this is the first way to make a strong thesis statement, is to be specific. All right, the second characteristic of a strong thesis statement is that it takes some sort of stand. So your thesis needs to show a conclusion about a topic. It needs to be arguing something. Looking at this first thesis statement, There are negative and positive aspects to offender rehabilitation programs. It's very weak because it's wishy-washy. It's not taking a stand or position that you can then defend. Also, the negative and positive aspects part is, too vague and not specific, as we just mentioned in the last slide there. And now looking at this second thesis statement, as research indicates, offender rehabilitation programs are an effective way to reintegrate nonviolent offenders into Canadian society. So this is a much stronger thesis statement because it takes a stand. It's arguing that offender rehabilitation programs are effective. They're kind of good, kind of bad, like the first thesis statement. We're taking a stand here. So yeah, that's the second point, is that a strong thesis statement takes a stand. Alrighty, so the third characteristic of a strong thesis statement is that it is debatable. So a strong thesis statement needs to justify debate or discussion. It shouldn't be something that, virtually everybody would agree with, because then what's the point of writing the paper? No one's going to be interested in reading it because there's no controversy, nothing really to discuss. So take a look at this first thesis statement. People who drive under the influence pose a threat to society. Looking at this, the reader's reaction will be, well, duh, right? So we all know that drunk driving kills people. We've all heard the stories on the news. Pretty much everyone agrees that it's bad and harmful. No one's going to disagree with this, so what's the point in trying to argue it? Now let's look at the second thesis statement. Because driving under the influence poses such a significant threat to society, people convicted of a DUI should be sentenced to jail time on their first offense. So this thesis statement is much stronger because it justifies debate. While most people agree that driving under the influence is wrong, many people think that receiving jail time for a first offense may be too harsh of a sentence. This certainly isn't the case in Canada right now. The punishment for the first-time offense is just a fine. So this is something you could argue for or debate with someone, which is making this second thesis statement much stronger. So there we have our third point, is that a strong thesis statement is debatable. All right, and then finally, our fourth characteristic of a strong thesis statement is that it expresses one main idea. A thesis statement and the paper in general should have one main point. If your thesis statement expresses more than one idea, then you might confuse your readers about the subject of your paper, and you'll also be making the topic broader instead of keeping it to a topic that's manageable to write about. So, looking at this first thesis statement, social media use can lead to a decrease in self-esteem, and it can also contribute to the development of eating disorders. So this is a weak thesis statement because the reader can't decide whether the paper is about social media and eating disorders or social media and self-esteem. To make the thesis stronger, you can either choose between one of the two topics to focus on or make the relationship between the two ideas more clear. So here, looking at the second thesis statement, social media plays a role in contributing to the development of eating disorders by lowering self-esteem through the increased exposure to idealized bodies. So this is a much stronger thesis statement because it shows that the two ideas are related, and it keeps it to one main argument that you're then explaining and supporting. So yeah, that's our final way to make our thesis statement strong, to make sure that it expresses one main idea. All right, so we've come to the end of our video here. Just want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful in understanding how to write a strong thesis statement. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to UFC's Supported Learning Group's YouTube channel, where other SLG leaders will be posting helpful videos on a wide range of topics. And for more information about SLG and to find out if your course is supported by SLG, visit the website I've listed here. And yeah, thanks again for watching, and best of luck in writing your thesis statement.